Hello again, friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Amy, and I'm glad you decided to join me for chapter 49 of the book that I wrote called Legends Orbs of the Elements. I hope everybody is getting back into the routine of just work and school and life after. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and Hanukkah season and New Year's season. I hope it was just filled with happiness and laughter and good health, and I hope that good health continues into this year. I know I am fortunate to have good health, and I hope you all do as well. I don't know why I'm on this thing of health. I'm sorry. I love reading this book. If you are new to my channel, I wrote a book and I'm so excited that you are here for it. If you want to start from the beginning, I do have other videos, the first chapter of this book, so if you want to catch up, please go do that. But if you just want to hear a good snippet of a chapter of a story to kind of get a feel of my book, I'm glad you joined me for that. I will be telling you where you can purchase this book at the end of the video, so be staying tuned for that, and along with some other fun stuff. So let's just jump right back into this, and why, I have no idea why my intros are long, sorry. Anywho, new month, you have to forgive me. Let's just jump right into this. Chapter 49. Leon and Castilia crouched behind a rock mound. They were looking in the direction of Nero's fortress. It was heavily guarded. Castilia gave her friend a sideways glance. She did not know what the elements had in store for her. Leon, I'll go out first. We don't have much time before Nero discovers we're here. I don't know what our other friends' plans are, but I promise they will come. No matter what happens, you must get the spirit orb. Understood? Leon nodded once and simultaneously tested his bow. Yes, he paused and extended his hand. Castilia looked back at him and waited. It has been an honor and a privilege to be your friend. She smiled a tiny smile and shook his hand. Likewise, my friend. She now stealthily rose to her feet. She began to make her way toward the fortress. Good luck. May the elements protect you, he said in a tone of a whisper as he watched her creep even closer to the fortress. He watched vigilantly from his hiding place as Castilia at last approached the guards. While his back was turned, two guards sneaked up behind him and harshly grabbed him. The guard spied Castilia. Her hair was braided. The letter L was clearly visible on her neck. The letter L was clearly visible on her neck, above her collar. Before the guard could ask her a question, she barked out loudly, I demand to speak with Nero! The guard now recovered from his shock and replied by sneering at her. He turned to the other with him on guard duty as well. Take this whore to Nero. He will want her. The other guard raked his eyes over her and grabbed the collar of her shirt so her chest was pressed up against him with the unexpected movement. Ah, it's a shame. I'd take good care of her, he said back to his comrade, who just chuckled in agreement. The guards now grabbed her by the arm. Come on, you! This way! Nero will be greatly pleased. As much as it bothered Castilia to not dish out a blow using the hilt of her sword on each of their heads for the treatment of her, she understood they too were skilled fighters, despite the crude manners. As they made their way further inside the fortress, Castilia was taken aback a bit by the beautiful wall hangings and other finery in this place. She wasn't paying much attention, as she should, because suddenly she was shoved into the main hall, where upon arrival Nero sat in his dais throne chair, seeing to business with Blinken and Riva at his left and right side, respectfully. The guard carefully kicked her forward so she was on her knees. The beautiful craftsmanship was evident in this area as well. Nero stood. "That's no way to treat a guest," he scolded with all fineness in his voice. The guard bowed apologetically. Nero waved him away. "You may go." The guard bobbed his head and exited the sparkling furnished area. Once he was gone, Nero slowly descended his dais and stood in front of Castilia. "Well, if it isn't the woman who is going to kill me. Ooh, I'm frightened," he said, his voice filled with mockery and mirth. Castilia didn't say a word, but followed him with her eyes. "Legend, I have a question for you. Would you do anything to get the last orb for the hunter?" He was baiting her. At this, Castilia rose and crossed her arms. There was something in the prince's demeanor that was darkly attractive about him. "You know as well as I that I cannot touch the orb, but I can help him find it. So yeah," she said with a bit of sass of her own. She really didn't know where he was going with this conversation. The prince nodded. "You are right, of course. I will tell you what. If you can win 3 rounds with 3 of my best brawlers, I will show you where the orb is located." There was a silence in the room. I'm sorry. There was a silence in the room. There was no other option, and both the legend and the prince knew this. "You're a liar, but I accept," she replied. Then she noticed something strange. Nero's sapphire ring was on his left hand, not on the right. She drew her blade and pointed it at Nero's throat. "Why, hello, Blinken," she said, in the direction of Nero. Then Nero, with the blade pointed at his throat, looked at Blinken, who was still by his throne dais. Nero attempted to push the blade away. "I am Nero, you fool. My first opponent I give you is, well, it's a surprise." He moved back up to his chair and took a seat. He waved his hand sideways, and the room transformed into an arena. The legend held her sword at the ready. From a dark corner emerged the largest Lygon she had ever seen. Not that she had seen many in all her years of travel. The half-dragon, half-lion was a beautiful frightening thing. This one differed in one respect. Instead of 1 dragon head, it had 2. "Great," she thought to herself. Nero rang a silver bell, a signal to begin. The Lygon began to circle her and try to figure out what she'd do. Castilia's heart began to beat fast. When one of the dragon's heads lunged at her to take a chance, she also made her move. She vaulted out of the way of the first head, swung at the second, and skillfully brought down her blade across its massive paw while it was distracted. The creature made a terrible loud cry of pain. It swung both of its heads around and blew an inferno of fire in her direction. She switched the hands she held her sword and stretched out one hand and concentrated on coldness and water, while blue sparks came circling around. White and blue sparks came circling around the fire and turned into a tower of thick ice. This action enraged the creature even more. Then the Lygon propelled its entire body at the ice. A heavy shattering noise like broken glass erupted. Castilia dove away to protect her head the best she could. After a second, she scanned the area around the arena. Her arms had a few deep cuts on them and a small cut on her face. She stood and turned to her opponent again. Both heads were snapping aggressively at her. The body of the Lygon was pure muscle. She glanced upward at the onlookers. Enough, she told herself. She had to do this. She needed to buy Leon as much time as she could. She twirled her sword skillfully and now made her advance on the creature. The two warriors began to circle again. She would have only one opportunity, she told herself, but she told herself more to focus. As she told herself that, she inhaled deeply and exhaled through her nose. She charged at the creature with a burst of speed. She did an acrobatic jump up in the air, as if to strike the Lygon's back. The Lygon adjusted to this attack. However, the Lygon misjudged his enemy because instead the legend tucked herself into a ball while in the air, and at the last moment untucked herself and, using the same momentum, thrust her weapon with all her gathered strength into the side just under her enemy's shoulder. It screamed in pain. Red blood gushed and pooled on the arena floor. Perspiration dripped from Castilia from her effort. She breathed in many deep, long breaths. The dying monster was not going to die quietly. It violently thrashed about and fell with a hard thud. Castilia had freed her blade. She hated to see a creature suffering, even in death, even after it had come after her, knowing it wanted to kill her. She got her breathing under control and approached the fallen creature. The massive paws attempted to swipe at her. She avoided them with ease. Then she raised her sword and, using her honed skills with the blade, made the kill strike. The two snapping heads of the dragon fell silent as they thudded to the ground. Blood from the creature was splashed all around. Nero came down from where he had been watching. "Congratulations, Legend. You have the privilege of engaging in combat with me. But first, here, take some water. I'd hate to rob myself of victory because you are winded." Using hand magic, he moved his hand in a semicircle, and a cup of water appeared in his hand. He offered her the cup. She took it as if taking a sip of it at the last moment, then threw it in Nero's face. He appeared to be slightly irritated by this total lack of respect for the gesture on his part. "Very well. Let's see how good you really are, Legend." He snapped his fingers. A sword materialized in his hand. She gave him no facial expressions when he displayed his use of magic. Lincoln rang the silver bell for the next round to start. Prince Nero made the first move. Excuse me. The two were experts when it came to swordplay. Blows were exchanged, and they moved around the arena like skilled dancers locked in a battle. Clang, clang, swish, clang, swish. When the swords came together like a powerful lightning strikes in the sky. Nero kicked at her ankle that was now almost healed. She made a noise that was a mix between a wince and a hiss in pain. She made her best effort to recover her footing, but failed and tumbled to the ground. Nero took advantage. While she tried to get up, he struck her across the middle and stood over her. "You little fool, thinking you could kill me." She had lost her grip on the sword and had come loose when she tumbled to the ground. But Castilia was a fighter and would not yield to Nero killing her in this manner. While he was talking, she had gathered a handful of earth, and as Nero leaned towards her, she flung it in his face. "Ah! You bitch!" he yelled out, and hurriedly tried to rid his eyes of the grit. A deadly mistake. Castilia gritted in pain and got herself up and got her sword back, and while he was still distracted, struck at his abdomen. He looked down at the location of the wound. Suddenly, Nero's body shook until his facial features, along with his bones, began to melt away like that of a burning candle. Castilia felt some grim satisfaction. She had been right. She thought she had dealt Nero with the killing strike. Castilia knew that somehow something was wrong. Nero stopped screaming and instead clapped his hands together in satisfaction. The owner of Nero's true self appeared on his face. She had an inkling she wasn't fighting Nero. That would have been too easy. She was right. She had been fighting with none other than Blinkin, the Lord of the Wizards. Then Blinkin, the wizard, disappeared. My, you are a clever one. Well, since you defeated my wizard, there is only one opponent. Are you ready to meet him?" Nero's voice echoed around her in a mocking tone. Castilia nodded in reply. She ached everywhere, and the two fights she won were taking a toll. In each, she didn't come out of either unscathed. She had several minor injuries. A strong, stinging, throbbing pain coursed through her toned, muscled body. Nero could now be seen. Nero could now be seen where his seat was. He rang the silver bell one last time. Castilia steeled herself, ready to face whatever kind of monster or man. She held her sword in a relaxed position. Castilia scanned the arena, waiting. There was a feeling of death in the air. Then, some mysterious, eerie fog came rolling in. At last, Castilia spied a figure coming towards her from the shadows. She let out a gasp of surprise from her lips. It was Leon's father. So that is all the chapter for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this story and would like to continue on reading along with me or on your own, this book can be found on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Apple iBooks, and lots of other places books are sold. That would mean so much to me if you bought the book. If you are also interested, I do have a Facebook page dedicated to all things about my book. I try to write an article Monday through Friday about different aspects of my book, how I write and create some of the characters' names and the setting and lots of other topics like that. So if you are interested, please check that out. I keep the articles as spoiler-free as possible so you can still enjoy listening to this story but not be spoiled by what may happen or things in the past that you had missed. I just love reading this book to you guys. If you are also just wanting to know more, I do have a sequel coming out to this book. I am currently Today I'm going to be looking over at some edits and seeing what I need to change to make it even better than the first book. So I'm so excited about that. Thank you all so much for watching. As I stated before, if you like I said, sorry if I repeat myself, it's January, you gotta give me some time. Like, subscribe, share with friends and family, and as they say in my book, may the elements protect you, and I will see you guys tomorrow for chapter 50. Bye-bye for now, everybody.